Me prendo sin querer, mirándonos mutuamente y me llevó de suerte. Dios mío, la que yo tuve, locamente me miraba, la que yo y me presume. Pero pasaba los días y yo no me gustaba, porque mi no veía. Trataba de esa cosa, pero que nervioso yo me ponía. No puedo tirar más de una vez, me hacen lo que no me doy por satisfecho, no me convence. Cuando quieres coger de tu camisa y el zapatero de tu gato, que anda un recogido. Si no te pones lo que yo quiero, no me doy por satisfecho ni me convence. Cuando quieres coger de tu camisa y el zapatero de tu gato.
This is an illustration of the vibration of air inside a cavity. This happens to be a tube. This is probably a pipe organ or a flute or something like that. And it's fixed at one end. And as you can see, once again, the air inside the cavity vibrates according to given patterns at different resonant frequencies. And again, these things happen simultaneously. The first mode, second, third, fourth, and so on are all happening again simultaneously in theory. That's what you want to happen. This will illustrate what we mean by sound pressure waves. If you hold a string in front of a loudspeaker, it'll actually push and pull the piece of string. So a little illustration of the kind of disturbances in the air that are made by this air coming out of the cavity that eventually strikes your ear and makes wonderful music. So I'll go again to our simple model of coupled oscillators. But it's actually more complicated than that because a lot of the elements of the guitar are interactive. In this particular model, the strings excite the top, which excites the air column, which excites the body, which excites the top again. So this going back and forth, and eventually it comes out as sound pressure waves. And this is what I call the Rick Turner model, and he's expanded it even farther. You know, everything is interactive with everything else.
So
which is probably true.
What about you see Torres saying that only the top of the guitar matters? What are you saying? How can you just believe such a nonsense? Because the guitar is all the guitar and all vibrates and all has to do with everything. So the same neck, the same side, the same thing, it will not do the same effect. It's not the same if I put just anything or any raw material or any design, right? like for example, which kind of bridge is used in AG, a very specific bridge, which is different totally to other bridges. As far as this is extra flat, it has a carbon fiber saddle, so it is different. Now, if I get a 0 fret device like here, then of course this is also different. It will change. And if my neck is a neck like this, if it has this, for instance, with the Whitner pegs, is different than even in cutaway guitars, like if we have machine head. So everything will affect to the sound because of what Maestro Bordeaux is explaining here, that it works an all-together thing and simultaneous. And these things, again, are a bit invisible. So I suggest you watch the video I made about the top, which I will post in the description, also the first video, and in the first comment, which I will pin for you to watch. Let's continue with this explanation, which will be leading to the tone and to the harmonic series, actually.
And this is what I call the Rick Turner model, and he's expanded it even farther. You know, everything is interactive with everything else, which is probably true to some degree. But it was kind of fun to diagram that out. So now we're going to get to the harmonics. This is a graph of a harmonic content of a sample piano note. So remember when I said a string will vibrate in the first mode and in the second mode and in the third mode and dividing up. You're sort of hearing these harmonics all at the same time. The strength and the relative shape of these harmonics is kind of what gives you a characteristic sound of a certain instrument. For example, we'll just look at a piano. This is like one note on a piano. It was like maybe a middle C, and it was supposed to be a good piano. This is an example of a, you know, like what a good piano note looks like. The first and the second are very strong. After that, they're considerably less strong, but there's an awful lot of them. We're going to go out to the 10th harmonic, and then we're missing a couple, and there's even something out here at the 13th harmonic. So it's a very piano note. We talk about a piano-like, you know, a good guitar having a piano-like tone. And what that means is that it's very complex. For example, here's a couple of a flute, again, a couple of strong harmonics, a violin, quite a few strong harmonics, but very complex tone, and a tuning fork. You only get one harmonic. I mean, a tuning fork gives you a very sterile note that's devoid of higher partials. This is a little graph I made of the note C, and I probably should have put the second line first, but these are, if you were to name a note associated with the first, second, third, fourth harmonic, on and on, it would be, you know, C, G, C, you know, on, and the frequency ratio is the 1 to 2, 1 to 1, 1 to 2. It's like analogous to that string dividing in, you know, in halves, thirds, fourths, etc. What's interesting is at the bottom is the interval. The interval between C and C is 1, between C and C is 1, between C and G is 5. You get all the way up to the 6th harmonic, and you essentially have 1, 3, and 5, which is a major triad. Interestingly enough, many guitars don't go beyond that. In terms of audible, many guitar notes don't go much beyond 6 harmonics. You know, good ones will go farther. But so if you're getting some oddball, some sort of dissonant intervals in your harmonics, like sevenths and firsts, then you know that you're getting, you know, into sort of like, you know, sort of, again, a more complex guitar tone. Another little graph that I made. Along the left-hand side, I have the notes A, B, C, D, E, F. Those are the white keys. I didn't bother to graph out the flats and sharps. And along the top, I have the harmonics. So basically, you have the notes that represent the first 16 harmonics in each of these notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So remember I talked about the top being a filter. The string will vibrate purely for many, many harmonics that can be measured. The top will only amplify a certain number, and it depends on how you tune it. The objective then is to tune the top in a way that it will amplify as many harmonics as possible and as many different keys, okay? So here's what it would look like. Here's what your notes would look like. Your notes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G would look like if your top or your body were only capable of vibrating at one resonant frequency. Just pick A. So that one note A would be extremely strong, and as you go down, D would be strong because you'd have the second harmonic would be represented, but you get down here to C, you know, you don't get anything represented until you get to the 13th harmonic, and so very, very sketchy notes. An interesting thing is that your ear will fill in if a note is strong enough and has enough harmonics. There may be some gaps in there. Your ear will fill them in, and in fact, most guitars do not have a resonant frequency as low as the open E. You're mostly hearing the second harmonic when you're hearing an open E.
This is an amazing thing, which is true. And to notice that, of course, you need training. This is not anyone can notice it. But here, there is a guitar. I have one guitar here, which has that harmonic. Otherwise, just with one tone, some people will say, yeah, I don't hear the difference. The difference is that in one case, the full spectrum of harmonics is there. While in the other cheap guitar, or expensive but made guitar, anyway, because you know there can be nice instruments and expensive, nice instruments expensive, and also bad instruments expensive, and bad instruments inexpensive. But generally guitars which do not have accuracy or not accurate really, and this means so many luthiers here in Spain do not care. Fortunately, in America you see how many people is really informed about this thing, although these people don't play, they know and investigate and research what would be more favorable, and then they need to get the feedback from a real player, and then they get somewhere. But otherwise here, just because of a brand name, or because Tomatito plays it, or because of anything, that doesn't mean one thing. So this is the reality, because the facts of the harmonic series are there. The facts that the top requires such a delicate balance to get where it is, and to avoid notes canceling itself or weird frequencies. This great thing in AG about the lateral sound port, which helps so much in this matter, this makes a very exceptional combination of stuff that is, of course, very interesting to dig in. And then therefore, yeah, when you listen to this note, maybe you're just listening the second harmonic of that and not the real note, right? Of course, this is very tricky thing, but let's repeat this part because this is very, very important.
You know, you don't get anything represented until you get to the 13th harmonic, and so very, very sketchy notes. An interesting thing is that your ear will fill in if a note is strong enough and has enough harmonics. There may be some gaps in there. Your ear will fill them in, and in fact, most guitars do not have a resonant frequency as low as the open E. you're mostly hearing the second harmonic when you're hearing an open E. So your ear can fill in an awful lot. This is what notes look like with 4 resonant frequencies. As you can see, these notes begin to fill in a lot more. They're stronger. The ear should be able to hear and recognize all of these notes if you had just simply 4 strong harmonics. That's just a good example. To me, I thought that was a great way to visualize how some of that stuff works. So let's get on to voicing objectives. When I'm voicing a guitar, there's a few things that I'm looking for. The top stiffness and mass should roughly be in balance with the string load. What do I mean by that? If it's a ukulele, you have a low string tension. If it's an acoustic guitar, long scale, medium, made to be played with medium gauge strings, the string load, the top should be stiff enough to be balanced with the load that's put on it. And so on the one hand, I have a cinder block. So imagine a cinder block strung up under 180 pounds of string pressure. It's not going to be very resonant, because it's going to take a lot to move it. On the other hand, you got a piece of paper. Well, that is too flexible. You're not going to get a piece of paper to vibrate in all of those complex modes that are going to give you a wonderful guitar sound. In the middle, we have a braced guitar top made out of spruce, and that's what we're looking for. So you're looking for some kind of a happy medium. There's probably no one precise stiffness, but you probably have a parabola here, and you want to get somewhere up here in the parabola. Here's a good example of a stiffness tester. A lot of mandolin makers are using this kind of a device to actually measure the load on a specific top. Violin makers have done this for quite a while. This is just a little lever that pulls down, and that's a fish scale. so you can pull down on the lever, and I think a later one has a way of locking that. This is Dan McCrosty's. He wants to find out how much deflection he gets at the bridge under 25 pounds of pressure, which is approximately what a set of mandolin strings tuned up will deliver. And here's someone else's method, similar thing, with a sandbag for a load. We were at Collings Guitars and Mandolins earlier this year, and they have a similar device. So at optimum stiffness, the top should produce, this is my second objective, once you build that top to the optimum stiffness, the top should produce as many different resonant frequencies as possible. Why is that? Because you want the note B flat to be full and not to be weak. The objective is you want to be able to play every note on that fingerboard and have good presence and good balance. And you're never going to, you'd have to build a synthesizer to be able to get every single note as full as you want it.
That's right.
And then it would be a synthesizer and not a guitar. So it's never going to be perfect, but you want to get as much as you can.
This is the point here that I said it before actually, and I will post the description of these videos where I mentioned this fact that no guitar has everything strong. It does have different zones, and in different zones have different power or presence there. And therefore, but the more it has, that's what Maestro Bourgeois is saying, the more it has, then that's what is a good guitar actually, which has presence in most of its notes and very few weak spots. So this is very important. We'll continue with the next video.
Me ayudó porque descubrí ahí la improvisación. La improvisación es algo que yo pienso que cada músico debería cada músico del estilo que sea, del clásico, del flamenco, de cualquier otra música debería aprender, porque la improvisación te da mucha libertad y a la vez te da mucho conocimiento de dónde estás tocando, de cómo estás tocando, de qué armonías están en cada momento, ¿no?
Muy bien. Pablo.
Sí, Paco, ¿qué es para usted la música popular y qué es la música elitista?
Yo creo que la música elitista es el refinamiento de la música popular. Por ejemplo, el flamenco. El flamenco originalmente es una música popular, una música del pueblo de Andalucía. Pero creo que ya no le pertenece más al pueblo, porque de pronto habemos gente que nos hemos pasado toda una vida encerrados, puliendo esa expresión popular. Entonces ha llegado a un nivel en el que el pueblo ya no tiene acceso, sobre todo a los matices que vamos consiguiendo la gente como yo, que nos pasamos muchas horas